Township now shares municipal court with Madison. Are there more shared services we could use?
There could be. I think it's a matter of looking at things opportunistically and try to understand the economics behind, every sort of that decision. There may be some unintended consequences as well as the intended consequences. So you have to have as complete information as you can get on what the advantages are to both participants in the deal, if you will.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you. Yes, the example given was the joint court that we established this year, the saving $150,000 for our taxpayer this year and every year going forward. It was a great thing that I helped lead on the joint court committee. There are other opportunities that are found out there. The first step in seeking such opportunities is to start talking to our neighboring communities. We don't have an open dialogue, I don't feel, with a lot of the surrounding communities. Everybody operates on their own. It's not just Morris Township. Morris Plains, Morristown, Hanover, Madison, Florham Park. I feel like everybody's operating in a bubble, and we all have to talk more with each other and collaborate more. And I think that's something that Kathy's going to bring to the table with her abilities to bring people together and get people talking around the table. And there will be opportunities that arise once we start talking with everybody.
Thank you. Daniel?
Thank you. I believe that shared services, there are a number of ones that have proven very effective for Morris Township, and there have been some that have exploded on us. One of which is the animal control shared service that we embarked with Morristown. That did not work out well. It was a win-lose. Fortunately, Morristown was on the win side and we were on the lose side. And we were able to exit that situation very quickly. So, as Louise said earlier, shared services are opportunities that we always need to look at. But in doing so, it means more than just bringing a bunch of people together around a table, all agreeing that this sounds really nice, but it must be a win-win for both communities. It can't be a win-lose, because if it is, it just doesn't work. And as time goes on, we are always looking for opportunities to enter into discussions, and have had discussions, and are having discussions with communities, but they must be win-win. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
Yeah, I agree with that. It must be win-win. I think there are many opportunities for shared services. I am intrigued by an organization called Courage to Connect, which supports communities in looking for opportunities for shared services. And from attending their meetings, one of the things I've learned is that opening the door to having the conversation is huge. And it takes time to have that conversation, and you don't just jump into immediately having shared services that everyone's happy with. It takes time to look at the interests on both sides and to explore the opportunities for sharing services that will lead to win-win outcomes for both sides.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the second question. Jeff will have this question first. What will be your top priority if elected?
There are a couple of top priorities. The first, as we mentioned before in my opening statement, is to start televising meetings. We need to bring our community into the process instead of keeping them closed out. It's not just the town meetings, it's in projects such as Honeywell, where the public was brought in at the last second, not at the last second, but at a second phase, and was not allowed to give their ideas and input up front. So my top priority is to get the community more involved. First step is televising meetings, but holding more open forums where the public can give us their comments, give us their views, give us their ideas, and give us their vision for how the community should move forward.
All right, a couple of things. My top priority / priorities has always been and always will be looking out for every single tax dollar that you folks have to write a check for. Balancing that with enhancing the services that this town has to offer, not only to families, but to seniors, and to continue to improve those programs. My opponent has said his top priority for the last 5 years has been to get our meetings on TV. During those 5 years, not one public document from him has been produced, not one email on how to do it. He's been on the communications committee, subcommittee, with Mayor Bruce Sisler for the last 2 years. That subcommittee would be responsible for that endeavor. It's never been brought up. So we need to focus on issues that are important to people, and we need to put folks at the table, at the committee, that are going to dig down and do the work. Thank you.
Kathy?
I have a couple of top priorities. I know from talking to hundreds of people that the top priority among many people in our community is fiscal responsibility. And I have a unique ability to assist with that. I am retired. I have a background in grant writing, and I'm 100% convinced we're leaving some money on the table because no one has the time to explore all the grant opportunities that are out there. So I pledge to do that when I get elected. And another priority for me is to bring different ways of communicating, engaging the public in the process. I do support the televised meetings. I have ideas for that. I have lots of ideas for informal communication groups and think tank groups, which we'll get to tonight.
Thank you. If elected, my top priority is going to be to use my connections in the business world and my business collaboration skills to bring high-quality taxpayers to the township. We have 18% of our office space is vacant. That places a burden on the residential taxpayers, and it doesn't bode well for finding jobs in the area. New Jersey is number 43 in the order of 50 states in terms of business friendliness. To me, that is appalling. And we need to pick up with the mayor's EDAC, the Economic Development Committee, to bring high-quality businesses to Morris Township.
Thank you. Just to rebut something that Mr. Capper said, my top priority for the past 5 years was not, getting meetings on TV. Fiscal responsibility is always at the top of the list, and it was in my opening statement. Fiscal responsibilities will continue to be at the top of the list. That's why I supported the joint court that saved us $150,000. I was the one who voted for the joint court that saved $150,000. And it was Mr. Capper who voted against the joint court, which would have saved us $150,000. Fiscal responsibility is always very, very important.
Sure, two things. All right, two things. I didn't vote against the joint court. I abstained. And the reason I abstained was I didn't have enough information at that time to be able to make a decision. As I said earlier, shared services can be good, and there are some things that I didn't have at that time. Right now, at that time, they were talking about a court increase, caseload increase of over 50% with a 15% increase in expenses. Normally, that doesn't work in private business. The other thing, Mr. Grazel said at the meeting in January that was his number one priority, getting things.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Capper will have this question first. What will you do to bring jobs and new business to the area?
Thank you. We need to create an environment in the township for businesses to feel as though they're welcome to be here. Which means a lot of the properties here in Morris Township were built 20, 30, 40 years ago and need to be done and rebuilt and modernized. We need to show businesses that we are open to having them do that, to modernize their facilities to where they feel they don't need to move outside of town to find another facility, or even worse, outside of the state to find a facility that would better suit their needs. We need to welcome them, and and show them that we are open for them to redo their facilities. We want them here. We need to create an environment that's welcoming.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know what the Economic Development Committee is doing. I believe that was the name of the commission that was formed earlier this year. I would like to hear what their suggestions are. I know that they're in touch with businesses. To me, it's important to listen to business and to see what their needs are, the things that that are appealing about Morris Township, and also for some of the businesses that have left an exit interview. Why are you leaving? What's the problem? What are the causes for your movement? I think it's very important to have that communication and to know what the factors are that attract business and that cause them to leave. And I would look especially to the Economic Development Council that was formed, as I said earlier, and I'm not sure what the results have been from that group. I'd like to know.
Thank you. My business is in Union County, and the word is out in the street with the commercial brokers that Morris Township is not a friendly place to relocate. You can zone however you want to zone, but if the citizenry is hostile and not friendly and welcoming to businesses, they will do what is in their best interest, and they will leave as Honeywell did. They were driven out. Okay, so if we want to know, why we have the situation that we do, that is the place to where we should look. And there are plenty of ways to integrate with commercial brokers and find ways to attract businesses. And I think that once the mayor's PDAC, the committee is staffed, and it takes a while to find the right people. These are people that are busy with their corporate lives and with their personal lives and their community lives. It takes time to find the right people, but it is worth the wait.
Thank you. Jeff?
I think our community and our government needs to be proactive rather than reactive. A lot of times, we get the project before us and we have to react to it. That's what happened with Honeywell. We have to be proactive and think about what our community wants to look like in the future. I don't disagree that corporations need top quality offices, state-of-the-art, and we want state-of-the-art offices here in Morris Township. We want people to build here. We want people to build the best quality offices they can. But we want to have the right environment for people to want to live here and to move their businesses here. And there's a professor, Jim Hughes, that Peter Mancuso and I have heard a couple of times speak. There are certain kinds of communities that corporations want to move into now, and people that want to move into. They want to be integrated communities with services attached to them, not separated communities where people have to get in cars, people don't want to be in cars anymore. So we have the vision, we have to look at the future and see what that should look like in order to draw people and businesses to our town. And I think we've got some work to do with the planning board to vision that process, but with that visioning process, I think we can start attracting good businesses.
Thank you. Kathy Wilson will have the next question. What is your vision for the future of Morris Township, and if elected, how would you effectuate that vision? Please include your stance on open space.
I would like to see us open our communications so that we tap the resources of our residents in ways that we don't currently do. I connect that with my background as an educator. You know, the sort of old-fashioned way of doing business is the lecture method. If I'm the leader, I tell you what the information is and the listener absorbs it. A different way of looking at things is that the listeners have ideas to contribute, and I believe it's the role of a leader to create venues where you can tap the ideas that residents have, because I guarantee you there are a lot of really good ideas out there that would help all of us, would help our community. So that's the main, I guess, a top priority that I would look for, changing that communication in that way.
Let me just say a word about open space. Morris Township is a beautiful place to live. It is 25% open space already. The Environmental Protection Agency recommends 10%, so we are far and away exceeding what the EPA recommends, and it is a lovely place. There is an open space fund that's available to opportunistically purchase more open space as it becomes available and as it makes sense. And I would just like to see that we take that open space fund and use it wisely as opportunities present themselves. Thank you.
What is your vision for the future of Morris Township, and if elected, how would you effectuate that vision? Please include your stance on open space.
My vision for Morris Township for the future is a place that has more citizen involvement, like I said before, a place where we can talk to our citizens and find out what they want from our community to help us grow in that direction. Open space is certainly an element of that. We have a lot of open space in the township, but it's been shown that preserving open space actually increases property values. So you don't want to chase ratables by turning open space into housing sometimes, because preserving that open space might increase surrounding property values. So you have to look at those situations. But open space is very important, and one suggestion I have for the Honeywell property is to try to preserve a portion of that as open space, using open space funds to help satisfy the neighbors to possibly increase the buffers. That would be another place where we could apply our open space funds.
Thank you. You know what, Morris Township is a great place, and my vision on the future is really to maintain that family environment that we've created here through, it being one of the most affordable, from a property tax point of view, one of the most affordable towns in Morris County to be in terms of tax rates. Continue to grow our recreation and our senior programs that we have. Look, we've been told that Morris Township is we're not open and we're not transparent. And I take offense to that. Our meetings, once a month, folks can come to, and they do, talk about the vision of Morris Township. Our meetings are available by audio to anybody who wants to listen to them. There is nothing non-transparent about Morris Township. We are very open. They can email our township administrator. He's got an open door policy, and people stop in every day to talk to him about Morris Township.
Next question. Elise Johnson will have this one first. Please tell us how you will use your education, formal and informal, in your service to our township.
Okay, formal and informal. I have a master's degree in business administration, and I have many long years of balancing budgets, big budgets, containing costs, and beating inflation. You do not go to the heads of corporations like the Fortune 5 and tell them that you are over budget. You will get your head handed to you. So I'm quite skilled at that. I am also a certified project manager, and again, it's quite important to be able to select projects out of your portfolio that are going to benefit the citizens and are going to make best use of the taxpayers' money. A bad project can cost your township millions and set you back many years. So you do need to look very carefully at your portfolio of projects. So these are my two formal education qualifications in addition to my experience in the corporate world.
My background is that I have undergraduate degrees in economics and in engineering, and a graduate degree in engineering. Those are both things that I can bring to the table in thinking about the economics of the township and how our tax dollars are used. Engineering-wise, the subcommittees that I sit on, such as the sewer committee, applying that knowledge to my job every single day. In my prior job, where I worked 15 years for a large pharmaceutical company, I was also a project manager, and it helps me look at problems that we have at the township and work our way through the steps of resolving those, looking at the end point, seeing where we want to be, and taking the appropriate steps to get there. So I think I have a lot of things on my resume that help me in the job day to day, being on the committee in Morris Township.
Formal education, business communications degree from Coughlin University, graduated in 1982, longer than I'd like to admit. Informal training at length with a company out of Canada, Zenger Miller, on process management. 2.5 years of intensive training on gaining efficiencies within business, all of which those experiences I put to use here in Morris Township. I think I'd like to continue to look for those opportunities to gain those efficiencies as we move forward.
I have 2 master's degrees in education, and I also have recently gotten a master's degree in negotiation and conflict resolution. I would have to say my conflict resolution background is the most practical experience of training I've ever gotten. I use it every single day. And as I knock on doors and talk with people and learn what all the issues are that are out there, I can see that a skill set that I bring to the table is the ability to work with contentious issues and with people who do not see eye to eye with each other in ways that bring people together and look for outcomes that can benefit both sides. You're always looking for the win-win, but the path to get there is that you have to understand. People have to communicate with each other, and you have to understand what the underlying issues are. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Jeff will have this one first. Will we be able to maintain a reasonable tax base without raising taxes?
I think we should be able to maintain our tax base. We're going to have an issue with, I think, Honeywell leaving town and that facility being vacant for a while. So it's hard for me to predict what the impact of that's going to be. But we'll see what that rate will be going down the road. But it will make us have to work even harder to be more fiscally responsible, maybe share more services, and look to places where we can be more efficient in order to sustain our tax rate, given the issue that we're going to have at the Honeywell site and also at the Menon site in the coming years when they leave town. So we really need to figure those 2 properties out very quickly in order for us to keep our tax rate where it is.
We absolutely can maintain the tax rate as we move forward. We've set ourselves up financially in a very good position to do so. And Mr. Graysell said we're going to be in a little bit of a burden as Honeywell leaves and that property is vacant for a while. First of all, there's no inherent proof that that's going to happen. They're leaving, but the property is changing hands. It has been purchased. There is no inherent proof that property is going to remain vacant and without taxes being collected. As a matter of fact, I don't think we'll skip a beat at all. We don't know that, but that's certainly not, it can't be said that we are going to be in a burdensome position because of that, because we really have no idea. So, once again, we need to create that environment for those businesses to want to stay here. And if we do, and then we get out of their way, and we allow them to flourish, they will.
I agree. I think we should be able to keep our taxes where they are. I think there's a lot of things to look at to make that happen. Looking at different ways of doing things. The goal is to keep the services at the current level or better, and maintain the taxes at the current level. I think there's a place for looking at how we do business on various topics and looking for creative ways to save money. I also think we can look at ways to accomplish services through bringing in additional revenue, as I said, through grant revenue, and through methods of saving money that do not involve like creative ways of doing things differently to cut costs.
Well, who doesn't love the idea of lower taxes, okay? But it's executing a plan that will get you there. That's the hard part. I have studied the township budget. There's not low-hanging fruit there. The fiscally disciplined Republicans on the Township Committee have made it so. There is not low-hanging fruit. So we're going to have to get creative and do things like use technology. For example, the new household waste disposal systems with the garbage cans and going around with the new garbage trucks. That's going to cut down on workers' compensation costs, as well as injuries. It's the use of technology that is going to help us capture some of these efficiencies going forward.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Caffrey will have first. What are your major concerns about traffic congestion in Morris Township, and what ideas do you have for alleviating?
Thank you. Look, traffic and congestion is always going to be, always going to be a hurdle in a suburban metropolitan area, which Morris Township is, especially one that is on the train line into New York City. So it's going to be more advantageous for folks to kind of move here into Morris Township and the Madisons of the world simply because of the train line. I think what we need to do as a committee and community is to really look to enforce speed limits, which we have taken on that very proactively with speed limit signs and speed limits on streets that have drastically cut down the in-neighborhood type speeding to a more of a manageable level. Is it gone completely? No. Will it ever be gone completely? No, but we need to maintain our police force and maintain proactive issues to make sure we try to fight that as best we can.
I'm very concerned about traffic, and I have looked into it in a lot of different ways. I recently looked at the traffic study that was done as part of the Honeywell General Development Plan. I found that to be a fascinating insight into the causes of future traffic problems around the intersections around Honeywell. And one big takeaway I got from that report is that the traffic that is going to be getting, the main cause of the traffic is coming from development that's occurring in surrounding towns that we have no communication with. That's a big concern to me. Traffic does not obey political jurisdictions. I think we need to be more proactive about communicating with surrounding municipalities so that we can understand and communicate with each other about what traffic is being, what development is being okayed, so that we have a better handle on when traffic is coming.
I personally drive back and forth to Linden every day and have done for the last 20 years. No one would like to see traffic really any better than I would. But the fact is that not all of it is in control of Morris Township. Some of the decisions that are being made by neighboring municipalities impact our traffic. So we have to work collaboratively with the municipalities around us and with those that own the roads, such as the counties, to make sure that we're all looking at this collectively and doing the right engineering studies to make the problems, to mitigate the problems. I don't think that 30 miles west of New York City, you're ever going to make the traffic problems go away. It's just part of what we live with. But there are mitigation steps we can take.
Traffic is only going to get worse. Kathy referred to the traffic study and the impacts that the developments down Park Avenue are having on an intersection near Route 24. And as I said before, we need to start talking to our surrounding communities. Everybody operates in a vacuum. We don't sit around the table. We need to start talking to each other about shared problems and shared services to help us alleviate these issues. Another thing that I've been talking about is pedestrian-friendly and bike-friendly development. I'm on the Trails and Pathways Committee. We put forward a plan. We're starting to execute that plan finally, talking about ways where we can get more people on their bikes and on their feet, walking between places as opposed to getting in their cars. And that will also help alleviate the traffic, getting people out of their cars and onto their bikes and feet, getting from place to place.
Thank you. Kathy will have the next question. What opportunities do you see for improving communication in the township?
I see a lot of opportunities. Many things. One thing that I would like to do is, I have a couple of topics where I would like to see what I call think tank groups, and traffic happens to be one of them. It seems to me, I've said, there's a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot of information at the state, regional, county, local level that needs to be coordinated. What I would like to see is a think tank group whose purpose is to serve as a clearinghouse of information and also a source of new ideas. Because I think there's a lot of things that we can do, project-wise, money-wise there, coordinating with surrounding townships. There have been studies done that we're not even implementing. And so I think there's a tremendous opportunity there for that type of thing.
Thank you. One thing I've learned in this run for office